Hey guys, what's up? It's Darkmech here and welcome back to another Battle for Azeroth Alpha video. Today we're going to do our first dungeon preview. So originally I was going to upload runs of all the dungeons in their complete form, and then I was like, that is ridiculously boring for everyone. So I thought I would do these quick sort of 5-minute dungeon preview videos, skip through the dungeon, give an overview of the bosses, some of the trash mobs, and just my general feel on the dungeon itself. These are all the first runs I did through here that I recorded, so just first impressions. So there's a couple of quite large pulls on the way to the first boss here. The aggro radius in here is extremely small at the moment, which I assume will of course be tuned and fixed as we progress through alpha and beta. So we get to the first boss after about 4 or 5 pulls, which is Skycap Crag, or Tony Hawk. And basically this is a very standard introductory boss that you would expect in the first dungeon that you do in a new expansion. He's fairly boring. He does these dive bombs where he jumps around, big brown swirly circle. You don't want to stand in it. He starts off on his bird, jumping around. He then gets off. He continues to dive bomb. The bird goes up into the sky and drops green bombs from the sky that you don't want to stand in. He has this revitalizing brew, which you can collect on the ground and drink yourself. I have no idea what that actually does at the moment, and just continues to jump around. So all in all, it's a fairly boring first boss, which I hope has something added to it when you get to the mythic difficulties. Otherwise, it's just a lot of running around, and yeah, I don't know. It was an introductory boss. You're then going to run across this giant ladder that goes to the other side of the Freehold Island sort of thing, where you have some RP, and these RP mobs that come charging at you actually pull the other mobs involved at the moment. So this leads to some really large pulls throughout here. Again, I'm assuming that'll probably be fixed and not intended. The good thing that I've really come to like about Freehold though is there's so much room in this dungeon. It feels like a really vast, expansive dungeon where you've actually got room to kite. And this giant bridge here actually serves really well as a bottleneck for cap totems, ring of peace, leg sweeps, punts, and just being able to even slow them and run all the way to the other side. So there's actually a lot of room in this dungeon, which is going to create some really cool, massive chain pulls when you get into those mythic pluses and things like that. So then we get past those, we go to like pirates riding rats, and then we've got some monkey pirates here and more rats. And then you get to the second boss, which is the Council O Captains. Now there's 3 captains in this, 1 friendly and 2 that you fight. Now this giant brown swirly circle on the ground there is actually from the friendly pirate. However, I don't know if that deals friendly damage as well as damage to the bosses. I just saw a giant swirly circle and got out of there, so I'm going to have to find out about that one. Captain Jolly is the one that pretty much sticks on you the whole time and you just continue to melt him, while Captain Adora is the one that hops around, and it kind of gives me the second vibe Seat of the Triumvirate feel, where you're constantly kind of moving and running around from something that's jumping. Not super melee friendly, but this is certainly not as bad. Now Captain Adora will do these launches where he goes to a corner and then he shoots sort of at a 90-degree radius, starting from one side moving over to the other, covering off 90 degrees, and you want to move from those shots. So that'll be really interesting in regards to paying attention on higher difficulty, watching where one shot is, and then moving into that sort of next cone to avoid getting hit by the next. Again, that was about it. I don't really know exactly how this fight is supposed to work in regards to the friendly unit assisting you. I will certainly suss that one out. But once you kill them, it's currently bugged in alpha at the moment, so you don't get any loot and no achievement or anything like that, or credit for killing it, sorry. And then you're off to the next boss. Now the next boss is in the Ring of Booty, and it's basically a Ring of Blood style event. So there's about 3 or 4 trash pulls, depending if you want to take the pats into it in one pull, and then you end up in the Ring of Booty. And there's an RP event along with this as well, and then there's a little sort of fun thing that happens before the next boss, which I've cut out so people can see for themselves, because I actually thought it was pretty cool. You then get on to the next boss, which is Ludwig here, which is basically a Ninja Turtle pirate. He again is fairly boring. He shoots out these shell bouncers, which are just shells that ricochet around the inside the ring. The longer he's up, the more shells you end up with bouncing around. And that's really about it. Now again, we're only on normal, so maybe there's a hell of a lot sort of more mechanics to come through this with higher difficulty, but that's about it. Next comes Shark Puncher, or Trothak is his actual name, but Shark Puncher is what they call him. And he comes out like a wrestler. He's got 2 sharks on his arms. He's actually fairly cool. From a boss mechanic standpoint, again, not a hell of a lot happens here. He launches the sharks off his arms, which actually chase people and leap around. He does a thing called Shark Tornado, Sharknado, which, full credit to Blizzard, is absolutely awesome. He throws both his sharks out. He then charges off to collect each shark, so you need to make sure you're not in the way of that. And that's really about it for him. Again, fairly standard introductory normal first dungeon bosses. You then got a couple more trash packs. You then run across another giant bridge which takes you to another side of this island. The landscape in here is absolutely awesome. Like this dungeon actually looks like a full sort of, you know, zone that you would be leveling through, and that's Blizzard have done an extremely awesome job on that. You've got a couple of large pools, 3 large pools I think, before you get to the final boss here, which is Harland Sweetie. Now, this dude here reminds me of a French pirate. 2 swords, big French mustache. I don't know why, but I class him as a French pirate. I don't know if that's odd. This boss is actually fairly cool. It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out in like high tyrannical difficulties too. So he'll mark someone, you can see there, with like this fire logo above their head, and it drops cannonballs from the sky, which leave giant fire circles. Now the fire circles despawn in normal at the moment, whether that will be the case in mythic or not. And you'll end up with loads of fire. I could probably see that happening. He summons ads which fixate on people, so again you just need to burn ads down. He also does this black swirly ability that shoots out of him, which is actually really hard to pick where it is going to sort of zone off first, and you can see it all there, and it serves as a knockback. Now whether the goal of that's going to be knocking you back into fire, and you can see more cannonballs end up fixating on people, like 4 going out at once, which leads to quite a bit of fire on the ground, and then these black swirls come out. I don't know what the ability is called. But it is really hard to get a read on, you know, which one is going to go out first and then which way to move through that cycle. So if the fire ends up staying on the ground and it does a hell of a lot of damage, and that swirl on the knockback ends up causing damage as well, that could be a really devastating ability to deal with on high levels. But again, we're going to have to see. I actually really enjoyed that boss though, and thought Blizzard did a really good job on the last boss of Freehold. So that is it, guys. All in all, Freehold, it's a cool introductory dungeon. The artistic sort of environment itself in the dungeon is absolutely amazing. The landscape and things like that. And yeah, I'll be interested to see if they add more to these bosses for mythic difficulties. Hopefully they will. Any questions, please hit me up, guys. Otherwise, thank you very much for checking out the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. See you guys.